you doing? Good, good.
I'd like to welcome you all to our 50th commemorative anniversary for OSU Okmulgee. My name is Gary Fortune. I am the Department Head for Digital Communications here at OSU Okmulgee. It is indeed my pleasure to serve as your MC for this 50th anniversary commemorative program. It has been my good fortune to have been an employee of this institution for 29 years, serving as a graphic design instructor for 16 years and visual communications department head for the last 13 years. Most of you know that this institution truly does mean a lot to me, as I know it has been a lot to you. It has not only provided me with my career for the last 29 years, but also has been a constant source of pride for me. There are not too many careers available where we can feel that we have made a difference in our community, in our society, and in our world. The opportunity to watch young people grow, to watch them learn, to watch them accept responsibility, and to watch them become a contributor to our society is indeed something we should be proud of. I know that I'm preaching to the choir when I tell you that as an educator at OSU Okmulgee, we have made a difference. It has taken proud and dedicated individuals to lead this institution to where it is today and prepare it for where it should be going tomorrow. It is an honor to be part of this 50th anniversary celebration and to help recognize that you, the founders, the trailblazers, the pioneers of Oklahoma State University Okmulgee for the last half century. At this time, I'd like to briefly describe how the program is going to work. We have divided the program into the Covell years, the Miller years, the Cloveness years, and we have a brief remarks about the community connection by the mayor of Okmulgee. Before we start the rest of the program, we have a commemorative proclamation that we would like to ask all of you to sign, and I'm going to try to get this started around the room here in just a minute. If I can, I'll take just a minute to read this to you. Know all bodies present that we, the Oklahoma legislative representatives, Okmulgee community representatives, retirees, graduates, former employees, former students, friends and state and regional responsibilities and continues to meet the challenge of providing quality education. Whereas between now and the 100th anniversary in the year 2046, OSU Okmulgee looks forward to opportunities to expand its horizons, extend its vision, improve its services, and contribute to the nation's most valuable resource, its people. Now, therefore, we express our best wishes and support for continuing the tradition of excellence in education at OSU Okmulgee for all who may benefit in the future. In witness whereof, we the undersigned do hereunto set our signatures, as aforesaid, this is the 3rd day of October, 1996. So if I can, I'd like to go ahead and start this around the room, and if you'll pass it on to your neighbor, I would appreciate that. Hopefully 50 years from now, somebody will be reading that gift. The new facility has recently been decorated and prepared on our campus, and we're calling this facility the Heritage Seminar Center. This is the plaque that's going to be put up on the Heritage Seminar Center. It is going to be located in the administration building down at the, my direction is going here, the northwest corner of that building. Used to be a couple of classrooms there, and it's now been redecorated into the seminar center. It is going to be used for administrative and academic events, for ACT residual testing. It will have also archival displays about the institution put up in that room, and it will be equipped for telecommunications with fiber optic backbone. We're very proud that that facility in that room will be part of our 50th anniversary dedication, and this is the plaque. And perhaps after we get through with this program, you'll have an opportunity to come up and look at this plaque. At this time, I'd like to take the opportunity to recognize our special guests that are with us today. I'd like to start with our legislative representatives, Representative M.C. Lace. Senator Frank Shurden. His wife, Catherine. Melinda Johnson is here for Speaker Glenn Johnson. Melinda here. She must not have made it yet. She was going to come on behalf of Speaker Glenn Johnson. Chief Harry Beaver from the Creek Nation. Okay. Mayor Glenn Lane of Okmulgee. Very fortunate today to have several representative presidents from the Oklahoma State University campus, and I'd like to begin with OSU President Emeritus Dr. Robert Kahn. OSU President Emeritus Dr. Larry Bowers. I'd like to at this time introduce the granddaughter of Keith Covell, Mrs. Frances Walpole, and her family. Daughter. Sorry about that. Glad to have you here with us. OSU Okmulgee Director Emeritus Wayne Mello. Former Assistant Director of Administrative Affairs, Jim Mosier. And representing two generations of campus physicians on campus for Bob Alexander, our resident campus physician, Tom Alexander. I saw him in the parade. Our OSU Okmulgee Provost, Dr. Robert Cottage. This is the hard part, trying to recognize some of our beginning students and faculty and employees that were here from the very beginning days. I have a few names down, some that I students and faculty and employees of this institution. My understanding that our first graduate across the stage of this institution was a Houston Adams, and I understand Mrs. Adams, his widow, was here. Would she stand? Another person that's close to me, although I have never met him, is the first commercial art student, James Clem. James here? Well, we heard he might be coming. This student has been here a long time as both a teacher and a former student, a guy named Bob Nichols. Bob here. Oh, he's not even going to stay. Jerry Foster. Jerry here. First-time employees that have been here since the beginning of the institution, but a couple that I'd like to recognize. A fellow named Joe Taylor. And another one that began the commercial art program in 1946, Roy Belford. We would be glad to ask if any of the other first students, faculty, employees that would like to say anything at this time. This is an opportunity to do that. Anybody would like to say anything? Our next special guest that I'd like to introduce has a rather short time schedule this afternoon. And of course that is our president of Oklahoma State University, Dr. James Halligan. Dr. Halligan has more interest than just in academia. About just a couple of weeks ago I saw him riding a Harley Davidson around the Lewis Field. I also saw him do the Macarena in front of about 20,000 people. Good to have you here today.
Well, distinguished guests and just everyone who's here to celebrate, isn't this a wonderful day? Isn't this just a wonderful day for this institution? Every time I come on this campus, which I think is one of the jewels in the crown of OSU, I truly feel that way. I always think about the land grant schools and what they're all about, and Abraham Lincoln. So I can't resist on this kind of occasion. I just feel better when I say this. When Abraham Lincoln signed the Land Grant Act to set up schools such as this, it said the purpose would be, quote, for the liberal and the practical education of the industrial classes. And I think if Abraham Lincoln were here today, he would say, well done for everyone who's been associated with OSU Okmulgee. And I see that 70% of the students here are 21 years of age or older. I read The Economist and I see what the demand is going to be for people with technical skills. I know that this institution, which has a great focus, has a great faculty, great leadership, and most importantly, all great students, is going to 100 years from now, 50 years from now, they're going to be celebrating their 100th anniversary, and they're going to say they did a good job in focusing this institution and making certain that it made a difference to the people of Oklahoma in their lives, and that it did just what Abraham Lincoln said. It provided for the liberal and practical education in the industrial classes. So we're here today to celebrate them, and I thank you for inviting me.
This time on the program, we would like to ask Dr. Larry Williams to come forward to help speak about the beginning of this institution. Larry Williams is our Executive Vice Provost for Student Affairs, has been with this institution since 1973. Larry?
worldwide, and there were many opportunities for people in this country. One of those opportunities was taken advantage of by a visionary group of citizens in the community of Okmulgee, who heard a call that came out from the United States government saying that we had a need for Army hospitals. And so that group of citizens took it upon themselves to research and find out if this community of Okmulgee could help fulfill that need. And they found out that the U.S. government and the Army more specifically was interested in a site for a hospital in Okmulgee. And our community passed a $50,000 bond. They purchased from the Harjo family the former property where the Indian orphanage stood, and they established the site for the eventual building of the Glennon General Army Hospital, and also agreed to provide the infrastructure for that site. From that point, the United States Army built a $5 million Glennon General Army Hospital. But little did the people of Okmulgee know that only 2 years later, that in 1945, that the war would end, that there would no longer be a need for Glennon General Army Hospital, and that this particular facility would be slated for dispersal because it was no longer of need to the federal government. Again, crisis and opportunities. Out of those crises and opportunities grew a strange alliance, somewhat, between the visionary leaders of the community of Okmulgee and a visionary president of Oklahoma A&M College, Dr. Henry G. Bennett. Out of that vision, Dr. Bennett, who was dedicated to the land grant mission of Oklahoma A&M, saw the vision, he saw the purpose, and he saw the mission of Oklahoma A&M to do what Dr. Halligan had mentioned, to serve the sons and the daughters of the working class, to provide practical education, but not to the exclusion of the liberal studies. And with all of our young people, men returning from the war, women returning from the war, and the need for update and technical training, he decided what better use for a facility than to join into a partnership with the community of Okmulgee and try to be the first technical school founded under the supervision of a state authority west of the Mississippi River. In 1946, his vision came to fruition, and the Veterans Vocational Training School that he had so heartily fought for became a reality. His vision in 1946 was of eventually having a school of somewhere around 2,000 students and a faculty of somewhere around 150 individuals, providing students the opportunity for 2-year terminal technical training and also providing them the opportunity for parallel college transfer courses. Very visionary, because that's the mission that we have held true to for 50 years, and the vision and the mission that we still fulfill as an integral part of a land-grant institution. Through Dr. Bennett's vision, on October the 3rd, 1946, the Oklahoma A&M Technical School was founded, and the first day of classes was held. One of the things that we are pleased to have done today is to provide each of you one of Dr. Davis's OSU and Okmulgee books. And if you're like me, the first thing you do is you come through and look at all the pictures. And after you look through all the pictures, then you go back and you start looking at the significant contributions that this institution has made since the beginning. As Gary mentioned, we want to start with the Covell years. And the Covell years were from 1946 to 1963. And the first thing that we have chosen to do is to give a little history in a fun sort of way by depicting each of the years through the Jeopardy game. We have Dr. Larry Davis, who is the author of our history, who will be the master of ceremonies for Jeopardy. We'll call him Alex Davis for these purposes today. And our 3 Jeopardy contestants will be Mr. Gary Borchard, who is the department head of our visual communications department, Ms. Susan Hill, who is our director of admissions, and Miss Mary Graves, who is one of our admissions representatives. Panel members.
Just want to make one comment before we get started here. I had a lot of fun with the 2 microphones. I've got a handheld mic because I'm one of these type of people, I can't stand still very long. And so I walk around with the mic and they gave me that, and then I found this thing and I get a voice coming out this way and another one this way. And I tried to see if I could do an echo thing, you know, like flow. Okay. But then I was told that some people today might have some hearing aids and they might start adjusting them back and forth thinking it's them and not me, and so I said, don't do that. One of the things I want to say, this is a scarier crowd to do this with than the other crowd, because you all actually made the history of the school. And so some of the facts and the information, I can fake my way through the group that we did this at the school retreat, because a lot of them are brand new and they don't know. I could have made up anything, they wouldn't believe it. But you all know the truth. And this makes it a little bit more difficult for us. It kind of reminds me, some of you all I know, as you read the book and as you read through it, you're going to say, that's not the way it was. You're going to argue about some of the facts or whatever. And that's okay. It kind of reminds me, some of you all, you know, you tell somebody a story and by the time they repeat it back, and it's not exactly what you said, and you're not really sure that the story came out straight. It reminds me of a little boy that his parents were fixing to have a baby, and they wanted him to be really excited about having that baby. And so they sat him down the night before, and they kept telling him how lucky they were that this baby was coming into the world, and they were just really lucky that it was going to be a bigger family, and how lucky they all were that God had blessed them with this. And so the little boy, they said, do you understand? He said, yeah, I got it. He's all excited now. So he goes to school the next day. And the teacher, you know, at the beginning of class, she said, anything happening, you know, that we need to know about? And he said, teacher. He said, yeah, my mama said that she got lucky last night and we're going to have a baby. Sometimes the stories that you hear and repeat don't necessarily come out the same way they were told to begin with. So for those of you that helped me with the book and gave me information and so forth, I really hope as you read the book that it came out the way you told it to me. So we'll see. As we go through the questions today, I'd appreciate it if you would not interrupt us and argue about the answers that we're going to give on the screen. We can argue after this is over with if you want to. I'll be glad to be up here and sign books and argue good. You contestants, are you ready to play?
Ready.
Okay. Good afternoon and welcome to the OSU Okmulgee Jeopardy Game Show, where our contestants, all value OSU Okmulgee employees, show their quick knowledge and skills in answering questions pertaining to the history of OSU Okmulgee. I'm your host, Dr. D, the man with all knowledge and no money, the man with 1,000 history of OSU Okmulgee books for sale and no royalties. Now let's meet our contestants. Let's have a warm welcome for our first contestant, a longtime employee of the college, Gary Fortune. Gary, tell us something about yourself.
Larry, I've been with the college for almost 30 years and served under 2 great directors, and frankly, it's been a hell of a ride.
Gary, you told me it's just been plain hell. Excuse me, you two. I don't think you need to be using that kind of language.
Grow up, Susan. Anyway, I think I probably know as much about the history of this school as anybody around. Bring on the questions.
Thank you, Gary. Now let's hear it for our next contestant, Mary Graves. Mary, you have the nickname Crazy Mary. How did you, can you tell us how you got that nickname?
Yes, I can.
Go ahead.
Oh, you want me to tell you how I got that nickname? Well, as you know, I've been a recruiter here at the college for about 16 years and a counselor. As you know, we've always been short-handed during that time. Wayne Miller was too cheap to hire anybody. Bob Cloudridge won't give us a pay raise. So we have to do everything. We've been gone for several days. We've been in godforsaken places that you wouldn't know if I drove you there myself.
Mary, I really don't think you should be using that kind of language.
Okay, grow up, Susan. Anyway, when we get back, we have to catch up on all of our paperwork, enroll a bunch of kids, and tour maybe 150 snot-nosed 8th graders or whatever. Maybe the only question I'm going to get is, like, where's the bathroom or something? Get up the next morning, do it again, and you like wonder how I got the name Crazy?
Thank you, Mary. Our last contestant is Susan Hill. Susan. Tell us about yourself.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. D. I have 2 perfect children and a very big husband. I have been at the college just long enough for my health to visibly deteriorate. I only have 35 years more to go until retirement, and I really don't think I'm going to make it alive.
Susan, thank you. A lot of the women in the audience were wondering, after having 2 children, how you stay so slim.
Well, Dr. D, it's kind of like Mary was saying, we're very short-handed. The copier is located clear across the hall because of budget cuts and we have to run back and forth.
Thank you, Susan. Let's go over the rules for our History of OSU Okmulgee Jeopardy game. We have 2 rounds with 5 categories in each round. You must be sure your answer is in the form of a question. The final Jeopardy question will determine the winner, so it really doesn't matter how well or how poorly you do during the game, just whether I like your last answer. Any questions?
So this is very similar to our merit pay plan.
Sort of. Any other questions?
Yeah. Okay, now, if we answer the answer with questions, then why are the answers called answers and not questions?
Thank you, Mary. All of today's contestants will get our home version of the new OSU Okmulgee game. It's a very realistic game. For those of you that have worked here for the last 50 years, you'll understand. It comes with no equipment and no money. You have to go out and find your own. Okay, let's play OSU Okmulgee Jeopardy. Our first categories are beginnings of the school, the Cobell years, the Miller years, the Columbus years, and student life. We don't have any money to buy buzzers, so just raise your hand if you know the answer. Okay? Gary, you've been at college the longest. Pick a category and a dollar amount.
Give me beginnings of the school for 100.
For 100. If you notice on our game board here, we can't even afford zeros. We had to cut those off this year also, part of our budget. Okay, the answer is the original property use. Gary.
What is a hospital?
What's a hospital? Are you stupid or what? That's what we call our food service department now. Boy, are you out of touch. What's it?
Hospital is incorrect, Gary.
See, I told you, Gary.
Mary, please. Susan?
What is a Creek Indian orphan's home?
Correct. Choose again. Susan?
I will take beginnings for 200.
Okay. The answer is name of the hospital on the site in 1943. Gary?
What was Bethesda?
No, Gary, you're about 1,500 miles off.
I know. General Hospital. No, wait. Memorial Hospital. They're all named Memorial or General or something. No, wait. It has to be Saint something, right? Saint.
Mary, is there a question in there somewhere?
Yeah, lots of questions.
Give me one.
What is Saint Okmulgee?
No, that's a really good guess. Susan?
What is Glennon?
Landon is correct. Okay. Susan, take it again.
I'll take beginnings for 300.
Okay. The answer is the first students were members of this group. Mary?
Indians.
No, Gary.
Veterans.
Veterans is correct. Gary, take it back.
Wait. How do you know the first students weren't Indians? How do you know some of the first students weren't Indians? You don't know, do you? You don't know? I mean, you guys you're not even gonna ask, are you? That's so typical of man, just keep going, continue on where you're going. A woman needs to stop and ask for the bathroom or something. Do you even care? No. Just as long as your little ego's intact and everything's just like you want it, just keep going. Assume you're right, the woman's wrong. Go right ahead, just go ahead.
Okay. Mary, tell you what, we'll give you Gary a time limit, okay? We'll give you credit for that particular question. Okay, Gary, think again, please.
Wait a minute, I got credit too. Why is it, when is the time the man gets to go? What's the deal?
Okay, Mary, go ahead.
Thank you. I'd like beginnings for 400.
Okay, the answer is the state of Oklahoma paid this much to the U.S. government for the property. Mary?
Is it pop out here $1?
Dollar is correct. Pick again, Mary.
Cool. Give me beginnings for 500.
Beginnings for 500. The answer is classes officially started this time and day. Susan?
What is 8 o'clock on October 3rd, 1946?
Correct. Pick again.
Wait, why do we start at 7:30 now?
More classes. It's for the students.
Wait a minute, it's still an 8-hour day. Students with kids have to get to school in the morning, they hate it. We come to work in the dark, go home in the dark, actually we stay in the dark, but that's another story anyway.
Well, I'm sure that is another story. We'll get to that one. Susan?
Dr. D, let's go with the Cobell years for 100.
Okay, Cobell years for 100. The answer is Cobell was director during these years. Gary?
What was 1946 to 1963?
That's correct. Pick again.
Let's try Cobell for 200.
Okay, well, over 200. The answer is, while training officer in the Navy, he had a visit with this famous person. Mary?
Who was Eleanor Roosevelt?
No, Mary. Gary?
Oh, sure. Guess a woman get told no, Mary.
Gary?
Who was John F. Kennedy?
John F. Kennedy is correct. Gary?
How about a Cobell for 300?
Okay. The answer is, she was the only female division head. Nobody knows? Ellen Tyler, she was head of the Foods Division.
Oh, that figures. They would only let a woman be head of cooking. Like, that was some great honor. Get in the kitchen, woman. Feed all them Indian veterans.
Thank you, Mary. Gary, pick again.
Cobell for 400.
Cobell for 400. The answer is, this recruiter and student activities director had a BS degree in animal science. Susan?
Who is Paul England?
That's correct. England Hall on campus, dormitory, it's 94. Okay, Susan?
Okay, Cobell for 500.
The answer is, the first official graduation ceremony was on this date. Susan?
When was January 14th, 1949?
That is correct. We'll stop now at this portion of the program and honor those of you who were prominently involved during the Cobell years. Gary, back to you.
Perhaps this isn't the most appropriate time to invite the next speaker to come up here after what we've been doing, but I still would like to give an opportunity to the daughter of Keith Cobell, Frances Walpole, to make a few remarks. Mrs. Walpole.
under one roof building was designated my family's residence. You opened the front door and you saw a hall about a block long. The day we moved in, it was well over 100 degrees. I can still remember the movers placing the living room furniture in this large room which had been a ward. One of the movers sat down on the couch and he looked up and he saw the overhead sprinkler system still in it. And he commented, "How great it would be to be able to take a shower in your living room." This wing, which was to be home, had a large ward on either side of the hall. And then from there on down the long hall, there were individual rooms on each side. Oh yes, we had 2 communal bathrooms with multiple toiletries. Now my mother was a very good sport. She went about making this place into a home. Of course, the remodeling had to be done in a very slow stage because my dad insisted on everything possible being done by the students as a learning experience. That meant it had to be done when it fit into the class program. The only time I remember my mother really getting upset was when they were doing the kitchen. She did not want an electric stove and there was no gas in the building. She insisted that if it got really cold and the electricity went off, if she had a gas stove, she could always close the door and keep the kitchen warm. Well, needless to say, she won, and some students learned how to install gas. At the beginning, the whole hospital was inventory for things such as laundry, power plant, kitchen, tables, chairs, supplies, etc. that could be used by the school. As time went by, they were constantly finding new things. One day after school had started, to their surprise, they found 2 POW bikes that had been left behind. This presented them with an entirely new problem. I'm not sure what they ever did with the bodies, but they found them. My parents' primary concern was always the students and their families. My father related to the students' experience and was intent on seeing that they had the opportunity to learn the things they needed to live a productive life and be a good citizen. My mother was very concerned about the lives and families, not only of the students, but also the faculty and staff. Both my parents felt that for men to be able to apply themselves, their wives and families should have activities that allowed them to grow also. It seemed to me that there was always some activity, tea, reception, or what have you. From a personal standpoint, this school represents many things to me. It was home, even though I didn't actually live here. It was where I brought my friends home from college. I was married here. My wedding was a school project. My wedding cake was the first wedding cake that the baker shop prepared. The culinary arts department took care of the food. And it seemed that everyone had a party. My 2 girls grew up here. They roamed the hallways on their tricycles, all 17 acres. Everybody on campus knew the redheads. And if they got lost, saw that they got home. But in reflection, I remember the people associated with the school as my family, because that is the way my parents considered and treated them. I learned a lot about family values from their actions. Now, my father worked to make this a place men could come and bring their families while they received their training. And he discovered that some of the Indians, we were referring to Indians, were reluctant to pursue education because they didn't want to leave their families and their traditions. So he opened up the school for them traditions. My girls and I still fondly remember the all-night powwows on the campus lawn. The best memory, though, for me and my brother and our families is the pride we have in our parents for their faith in pursuit of a dream of a school such as this, which has grown with the times to meet the needs of the men and women in pursuing their career dreams. The many people along the way who helped our parents make their dream a reality. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those remarks. Next, to give us some highlights about the Cobell years, our head of public information on campus since 1968, Mike Neville.
Of course, I get my photograph taken right up front. Very good to be here today. I'm not sure that I have much to say after this ridiculous panel we had over here a while ago. Came up with those rather questionable answers. And Mrs. Walpole gave us the facts, so there's not much left for me to say. I'm very proud to be here today, very proud to have this occasion just to come back and see some of my friends from many years ago, and I'm very honored that I have this opportunity to say something about OSU Okmulgee. I've been here about 28 years. I did not personally work with Mr. Cobell, but I've met him on several occasions and had a chance to visit with him. And I've heard many wonderful stories about Mr. Cobell. And while I'm not going to say too many things about him personally, I believe that Wayne Miller, who have a great deal of respect for Mr. Cobell and what he attempted here at this institution. Several years ago, there was a very popular television show that featured some very slick characters whose mission was to roam the world and prevent others from doing harm to other people. Most of you will remember that show. It was called Mission Impossible. And some things I've heard that Mr. Bennett said to Mr. Cobell, I can almost see or hear him saying, should you choose to accept this assignment? And I don't know if Mr. Cobell had much opportunity to refuse that, but anyway, he did accept the assignment, and certainly he was in a situation that far exceeded any plot that could have been written by Mission Impossible writers. In the first few weeks of his administration, all Mr. Cobell was responsible for was converting the facilities that were designed as a military hospital into something that could be approximated use for classrooms and labs. He had to locate and employ faculty, secure instructional equipment, and you know how military people secure equipment and not requisitioning. He had to establish administrative offices and functions, arrange campus housing and food services, decide what courses and classes to offer, write a catalog, open the doors, and begin teaching classes. Now, if you find any university college president today being asked to do the same thing under those conditions, I think it would be almost impossible. So, Mr. Cobell obviously accepted the challenge and was able to perform the mission. Of course, his task was made much easier by so many of you people here today that really buckled under, got the job done, knew what had to be done, worked hard, worked diligently, didn't know what an 8-hour day was, and you kept right on. And the number one criteria from day one was students, students, students. And now that we have 31,000 graduates, that's 31,000 wonderful reasons to honor this day. There's no doubt in my mind that Keith Cobell was exactly the right man at the right time. He was a graduate of Oklahoma A&M. He majored was in industrial arts. He taught industrial arts in several schools in Oklahoma. During World War II, he served in the Navy as a lieutenant commander. He actually became second in command of all of the training programs in the United States Navy. So he had a good, solid background upon which to build. Then with this opportunity presenting himself, he just kind of fell right into line, did what exactly had to be done, and did it. The college initially opened with 6 divisions: agriculture, intensive business, college division, related subjects, food trades, and industrial trades. About half of the first 500 students chose the college path, the others were in the industrial technical areas. Some of the original staff helping Mr. Cobell were Ray Dyke, Dorothy Victor, George Perrier, Theodore Chapman, Ellen Tyler, Wayne Miller, James Zant, Joseph Crawford, Charles Beals, Dr. Robert Alexander, Paul England, and Grady Platt. Those are all very important people, and we certainly appreciate them. John Foster is here today. It was one of the original members who came on campus and was helping with enrollment. He told the story the other day that they really had no idea what these students wanted when they walked in the door. So essentially what they did was laid out a big sheet of paper. Each student progressed through the enrollment process. They asked him or her, what would you like to take? If they said automotive, they would check by automotive. Electronics, they would check over there. At the end of the day, they did this tally. And that's where, of course, it was no number of checks for the ones that got offered. So I'm not sure if we'd offer that way. Especially the Regents probably would let us offer that way. That's the way it was done back then. Mr. Cobell was an assistant, but student attendance was crucial for student success. That's a policy we still adhere to today, and I think his vision of that was terribly important. He was instrumental in establishing the relocation center that was on this campus for many years, and he also helped to gain a contract to train U.S. Air Force technicians in the automotive areas. That was a very popular contract. During his tenure, the student population grew to about 1,300 students enrollment, and some 5,716 students graduated during his tenure here. The campus began to outlive its previously defined, very short mission of retraining World War II veterans and focused in more on becoming more of a technical college. Success of the graduates then forced new energies into retaining this institution, making it stronger. The campus's first new building was very pretty. Automotive and machine shop were erected. So we saw beginnings of an institution that was just almost non-existent to an institution that started serving very focused needs, and now we begin seeing it at the college. L.K. Cobell, the right man at the right time, OSU Okmulgee's founding director, visionary for the future, and a catalyst that helped find new careers for thousands of men and women. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Mike and I have been here just about the same amount of time. We used to work very close together in the same building. The next individual on our program, probably during the first few years of my time as a teacher here, I think I helped build some of his character. I'm sure that during that time he was not real happy with Joe Taylor, who hired me. He was probably thinking, talking to Joe several times, but I think Wayne helped a lot of us, as young teachers on this campus, to become better teachers and better employees. Probably no one has recognized more change in the last 50 years than Wayne Miller. We know he personally is responsible for numerous positive changes that have happened on this campus. I know Wayne Miller to be a proud and dedicated leader, very task-oriented, strongly supportive of his employees. Very proud of Wayne Miller, Director Emeritus of OSU Okmulgee.
Thank you, Gary. After Francis and Mike got through, there's not much left to say. Francis, I'm with you. I remember some of this history just a little different than Dr. Davis' book recorded. All of us printed that way somewhere. We just cannot pass this scripture without stopping to give a couple of men and help them stay. So, I mean, college history. Some real strong facts. Without a birth, there would never be a 50th anniversary or 25th anniversary of anything else. And two people are primarily responsible for that, and that is Mr. Cobell and Dr. G. I remember Mr. Cobell always had a vision of morning or post-secondary rotating institution somewhere in Oklahoma. He used to get his life in the high schools and in the protect department and still order the training. He had the vision. He sold Dr. Bennett on the vision. When Dr. Bennett got sold on the vision, he said, "Dream big dreams." Well, to put it together, Okmulgee married Tom B. Yes, thank you. I've got to read it down. So, had a hospital, Mr. Cobell had the vision, and Dr. Bennett had the medical savvy and the smart to get it through. And that's been terribly important. Otherwise, all this without a really happened. I was, when I first got my program, I was supposed to kind of have a little, some comfortable things about the school to say. I think, well, gosh, you talk all the afternoon about some funny things that happened during the Cobell time. But I don't lose back. I was called back to the Marine Corps in the Marine Hospital. And Mr. Cobell said, "That's all right. You're supposed to keep working for us." So, went back to that young man, Lieutenant the Marine Corps named Pete Walpole. Pete Walpole later was transferred to Oklahoma City. And I told Pete Walpole all my tech stories. You don't have to buy stories. I told him about the city with the dates and all the issues here. He was transferred to Oklahoma City. He took his brother's home, and he was retelling something from another story. In that little party was a girl named Frances Cobell. And you know, Mr. Cobell said that he's proud of his son-in-law and was his daughters, granddaughters. You did keep working for it, didn't you? I remember so fondly, and I will not take more time for it, and said, "Mr. Cobell, we owe so very, very much." He was kind of considered a crusty fellow, the old Navy man, they called him. And he was kind of prone to bark back to people now and then. I later found out why. He was a little sort of misfit. But segregation, we almost segregated. So we did things we didn't get to the war meeting. And he kept off to some of the press, some of the legislation. We were by this good. But one thing we knew for sure, he was this good. If he said he was against it, that's why he was trusted. That's why he was trusted. Because it was in his blood to do, and he did.
Later on in the program, Provost Clavish has a longer presentation, and I'd like this to wait to introduce him properly at that time. But I will give a brief introduction for the recognitions of the Cobell years, and ask Dr. Clavish to come up with it.
On behalf of those of us that are with the institution now, we would like to have Mrs. Walpole come forward. I'd like to present Mrs. Walpole. We also, for those first students that were here graduated in the first class, we'd like to have you stand and recognize you and say that this will be placed in the Heritage Seminar Center to recognize those pioneer employees and students that were associated with the institution. Good to hear. Stand. Thank you.
2024. The bill of years will be introduced by Secretary again. My panelists come up again, please.
We're going to talk faster, sir. Y'all are going to have to listen faster here. We'll speed this up. Okay, get down to the gentleman who hired me when I started back here in 1973, Wayne Miller. We're going to talk about his years. And you can argue with me afterwards whether this is accurate or not. Mr. Walpole, I just want to say thank you for your remarks. Those were absolutely wonderful. Really, really enjoyed it. Okay, we're into the Miller years, and who was the last? Susan. Okay, you start.
Okay, how about the Miller years for 100?
Okay, the answer is Miller was director during these years. Gary,
When was 1963 through 1983?
you are on the roll. Gary, go again.
Miller for 200.
The answer is Cobell and Miller had these similar backgrounds. Mary?
I know it.
Mary, no answer. Susan?
What are military and agriculture?
Military and agriculture, correct. Susan again?
Miller for 300.
Okay. For this reason, the athletic program was dropped in 1971.
What was not enough elastic?
You lost me on that one, Mary.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said athletic supporters dropped it. I'm sorry.
Susan?
What are poor teams and poor attendance plus financial problems?
That is correct. Susan again.
Miller for 400.
Miller worked with these three OSU presidents, and let's pray that they have a sense of humor here. Gary?
Who were Wilhelm, Cam, and Booger?
Booger, what kind of president name is that?
Boger, Mary. That's Boger, Tom, and Boger. Gary again.
I heard he was a bugger to work with. Dr. Give me Miller for 500.
Okay. Miller left by saying he wanted a new director who was experienced and in tune with this. Mary?
What are his feelings?
Oh, Mary, you can try. Gary?
What is total quality management?
No. Susan?
What are microprocessors, robotics, laser, and computer integrated manufacturing?
That's correct, and that is a direct quote that I got from the newspaper. So, we know that's accurate. Newspaper doesn't lie. Okay, let's finish up our student life category here. Susan?
Student life for 100.
Okay, the answer is, these people wore Mickey Mouse Club type hats.
Oh, who are the BizCom students at graduation?
Get off my case. My students have quit doing that. What happened to creativity and individuality?
Yeah. Why do they call it a pair of pants when it's actually a pair of legs? Who knows? Gary, you can't explain everything in life. You just have to just accept something. Susan?
I'd like to answer the question or
Certainly.
question the answer or whatever it is there.
Okay.
Who are the 1953 cheerleaders?
The 1953 cheerleaders. Some of you were here, you may have seen those hats. Mickey Mouse Club type hats. We have a picture. We have verification. We have pictures. Okay, Susan?
Student life for 200.
Okay, the answer is, the school newspaper and yearbooks were both called by this name. Susan?
The Roundup.
Wasn't that a weed killer?
Yes, and it's also the name. Susan?
Student life for 300.
The Miss Tech pageant was held from 1965 until this year. Mary, you're thinking.
What is false? What is false?
You lost me again. What?
Okay. You said the pageant was held from 1965 until this year. That's false. We didn't have it this year. It's another trick question. See?
Okay, you're right. You're right. Do it again, Mary. Actually, 1983 would have been a good answer, but don't have to do it.
Okay, student life 400.
Student life 400. For the first 58 graduations, the students did not wear these. Y'all are making up your own answer here, okay? Jerry?
What are Mickey Mouse Club type hats?
No. Mary?
What are shoes?
Yes. Susan?
What are caps and gowns?
Caps and gowns is correct. One more time. Susan?
How about student life for 500?
Okay. If all members of the Alumni Association sent in $5, the school would get this. Gary?
What is some equipment for this year?
Probably, but that's not correct.
What is arrested for a pyramid letter scheme?
Probably, but that's not it either. Susan?
What is about $150,000?
That's correct. The school has had over 30,000 graduates in the 50 years we've been here. We're very, very proud of that. And we're going to stop now and talk about the Miller years and some recognitions. Gary, back to you.
Our next presenter is Assistant Director for Administrative Affairs during the Wayne Miller years, Jim Moser, here from 1971 to 1986. Jim?
Y'all think Mary's just putting on up there, but she's really like that.
Thank you, sir.
I want to thank Wayne Miller, Dr. Tom, Dr. Bowler, and Bob Apologies for allowing me to work at this institution from 1964 to 1986. And I came here, when I first came, I was a little dubious because I opened the paper one day and in the police section there was an article that said that Wayne Miller was picked up for DUI. A few days later, another article in the paper said Wayne Miller was picked up for disorderly conduct. I went home to my wife and I said, "You reckon anything's safe?" Come find out later that there was a young man named Wayne Miller, and he was always getting in trouble, and Wayne Miller on campus was getting credit for it. Wayne always got on with me when we got up to make a call. I had made one call. I'm nervous about it. Because I never did use notes. He said, "How do you make a call without using notes?" And I said, "Well, I don't talk very long like you do." Anyhow, I made notes. And the reason I did this was that I would not come up with some of these stories he wouldn't want me to tell. Because you know how you get when you get a little older. These stories just kind of pop in your head. And they come out. And when you start thinking about that 20 years I spent with that man, I think a lot of stories that I know he doesn't want me to tell. But I'll be a little bit. Wayne Miller was director of Oklahoma State Tech. He started in 1963. A few months later, I came on board as an instructor. And so I spent, and then he retired before I did, so I spent all the years, or virtually all the years, with him, working with him as an employee here while he was director. And as it's already been stated, he was a member of the original staff. He left during the Korean War, called back into the Marine Corps, and that's one thing we had in common. We both were members of that great institution. The only difference was he was one of those officers. Man, I'm telling you, I wasn't. We had some sayings for officers. During his tenure, I think Wayne Miller was best noted for his enthusiasm, his good public relations, and his dedication to this institution. His priorities came in this order. What we called Oklahoma State Tech at that time, that was his #1 priority. Black and orange, his wife, and his religion. That was his order of priorities. And you didn't, when you worked for him, you went along with that. But he was one of the best perfect relations persons that I knew, and that was probably what this institution needed at the time when, in 1963, the Vocational Education Act was voted into Congress.
country was in a kind of a changing time at that time, and Wayne was one that could promote Oklahoma State Tech, as we did, Oklahoma State Tech, and he promoted it to such an extent that it was become world known, all over the United States and all over the world, and we had students from everywhere. And during his tenure from 1963 to 1983, when he retired, the enrollment at Oklahoma State Tech went from 1,800 students up to over 3,500. So, you know, it was good for us. Some of the highlights, there were numerous buildings built during that time. I'll just enumerate a few of them. There was a diesel building, the administration building, the graphic arts building, dormitories, new dormitories, the Red Door, that we're in right now, or what used to be the Red Door. And if you'll forgive me for calling these by the wrong name, these are the ones I do. Small business, drafting, library, dormitories, and numerous other projects that Wayne was responsible for promoting with the help of Dr. Tom and Dr. Bolton. And Dr. Wilhelm was also president during that period of time. We were visited by thousands and thousands of people during this period of time, and I think one of the main things that caused some of that visitation was back in, see, I can't do it when I have my notes. I just get up and say things and be all right. When I have to look at notes, I get them all confused. But there was back in the late 60s, about 1968, a national conference on residential vocational technical education that was held at this institution. The primary investigator was Wayne Miller. And for some reason or other, he picked me to be a part of that. And I'll never forgive him for that, but that's all right. It was probably the one thing that kicked off the national and international recognition of this institution. There were representatives from all over the United States at that conference. And when it was all over with, the people that came here went away and talked about this institution to such an extent that the congressional representatives in Washington, D.C. unprecedentedly came to visit. More people from that organization came to visit this institution during that period of time than any other location in the United States. Now, these were people that served Congress as staff members and so forth. So therefore, we had a great influence during this period in consideration for legislation during the period of time. I don't want to spend too much time because there's too many coming up behind me who want to talk about this that knows much better than I have on it. But I would like to say there are a couple of incidents that I'm popping in my head. One of them was that I went into the executive restroom one time and lifted the lid. You know what he said on that lid? It said something to this effect, and Forrest Johnson can correct me if I don't say it right. It said, the seat of vocational technical education. Another thing, and I'm not sure Dr. Tom knows about this, Wayne Miller was known as the Cookie Man. I didn't know how effective that really was until one day Joe Kinder told me the story about when they went to the Capitol building and they were going to a meeting and they got to park right up next to the door. Dr. Com had to park 2 blocks away. Did you know that? That's how powerful. That's how powerful cookies are. Well, I think I've taken enough time. I just want to thank you for allowing me the privilege of working on this institution. And I want to say one thing. Wayne Miller was, in my opinion, a very effective and very dedicated director. And he was also my friend. Thank you. you and to greet you. Maxine's not with me, but she certainly would want to be remembered to you. It was 38 years ago this month that we first set foot on this campus. So we have been a part of this many years, the Covell years. Little bit, we lost so much of the Covell family, and of course, most of the time with Wayne and Sarah and their family. You know, I'm going to try to keep this in the 5 minutes allotted me. So I too have put some things on paper here, and we'll just read part of it right straight through. Our interest has been because of the relationship of Oklahoma State University and this campus. I would refer, I took great pleasure in letting me come over here. I remind Wayne that brought greetings from the main campus over here to the south campus, and he corrected me in a hurry. He says, we regard this as the main campus and you folks are the west campus. So he never brought him around. The threat of no pay raises didn't work on him at all. This was the main campus, but that's the kind of enthusiasm that Wayne brought. But there are other reasons why we have a special interest in this campus. As Dr. Volker and Dr. Halligan know, that in the President's home there's space for 3 cars in the garage. Many's the time that we park our car out on the driveway because our son Steve and his buddies who were in high school would come there, they'd have a car or 2 broken down, and they'd come and work. Usually we sent them home by midnight. A couple of times I heard work going on there. 2 o'clock, and I got up. Thought I got them home, and one time, 4 o'clock, I had to go out there and quiet them down. Well, Steve announced to his mother and me one day that he says, I'm going to Okmulgee to study in their automobile program. And I've always preached the dignity of all worthwhile labor done well. Maxine feels the same way. So of course we supported it. He came here and he brought his bride here, and both Steve and his wife Susie had their degrees here. And another reason why I continue interested in this institution is that Steve has been a very proud member of the faculty in the automotive division for nearly a decade now, and so we have occasion to come here a little more often than we might otherwise, but we're very proud of this institution. Very quickly here, the original program, Gary said he wanted me to share some anecdotes. Well, with everything that Larry has written in his book, I didn't know if there was much left to me, and the things that Larry Williams has opened, and there just doesn't leave a whole lot. But I looked up the definition to see if I could get a new twist on anecdotes. The program calls for remarks. But an anecdote is defined as unpublished items. But I think you published everything. I think you published everything, Larry. And also interesting or biographical incidents. And a lot of those have been shared. But things that Jim Mosier and the others have said here, where there's duplication, this isn't all bad, because this is a celebration. It's first of all a celebration of people and the contributions of people. It's a celebration of achievements and the development of a program from this Lennon Hospital site to this modern campus, which we enjoy here today. Wayne Miller. Wayne had 39 years with OSU, 32 of which were on this campus. As pointed out, he shared some of the Covell years with Keith in the transformation of Lennon Hospital to
highly functional and a smooth functioning Vo-Tech campus and post-secondary school. Study at one time with some 34 trades and technical fields. Enrollment figures have already been shared here by Jim Mosier. It came to be recognized by many as the graduate school for Vo-Tech work. The general education program was developed along with proficiency in the traditional studies on this campus, with the result that there was separate North Central Association accreditation, separate from the main campus wing. But this was a tremendous achievement to have North Central accreditation for the campus here. And then there came the awarding of associate degrees, 2-year degrees, which is a tremendous step ahead. The institution became recognized internationally, as well as in Oklahoma, nationally. Programs with some 8 different nations of the world and some 150 students from Thailand alone. And again, I would underscore it's an outstanding, dedicated, loyal faculty and staff that really are responsible. They were brought together during the Covell years and the Miller years, and this most important ingredient of any college continues during the Clownish years. I think all of these 3 gentlemen who have directed the operations have recognized that you don't have a great college without great people serving here. So much more might be said, but I wanted to stop there because I know I've duplicated some, and I perhaps have taken something from those who will follow. Again, it's wonderful to be with you.
I'll ask Wayne Miller if he'd like to come back up and give a rebuttal to Jim Mosier's remarks.
I simply want to say that the number of years includes some 400 faithful fellow employees. And they did work pretty hard, didn't they? 400 employees, 20-some thousand students, all of that encompassed in the number of years. I'm so very, very pleased that Mr. Covell and Dr. Bennett and Dr. Wilhelm let me be a part of this golden tribute university. It's been truly, it was my life's work, and I very enjoyed it all the way. Mr. Covell said, he retired, Wayne, I've just built the foundation. You go ahead and build on it. Francis, I hope what you've heard the last few minutes to tell him that I did what to build on it. I did it. And I want to move back. I was pleased the 25th anniversary. Big celebration. Glenn Show still making cakes for the fair. But the oldest bakery good. But at that time, we had Dr. Wilhelm, we had Mr. Covell, we had members of the press, Veterans Administration, all those folks who sort of tried to help us get started and wondering if we could really make it through the transition years of the PIs to the regular people, people right out of high school. That was part of my mission. Mr. Covell built it to start with. We put on top of that the transition from the PI school to a regular out of high school to the school to the job. It's been a great thing.
Wayne, if you'd come back up, on behalf of all of us here today, it's truly a pleasure to present this to you for many, many years of outstanding service that you gave OSU Okmulgee as a faculty person, but also as a director that built so admirably on the foundation of 1963 to January 1984. Appreciate your time. I'd like to have Dr. Tom come up, please. Dr. Tom served as president of the Oklahoma State University system from 1966 to 1977. And as he already said, his son and daughter-in-law attended school here, and we're most proud also of his son, who is in his 9th year of teaching automotive technology for us, and also at this current time providing some instrumental leadership in developing a virtual partnership with another major manufacturer. So thank you very much, Dr. Tom, for the support and the family that you have provided this institution. I'd like to ask Dr. Larry Boger to come up, please. Dr. Boger served as the president of the Oklahoma State University system from 1977 to 1987. Dr. Boger was the president that hired me and gave me the opportunity to become part of the Oklahoma State University system. I had an exemplary relationship with Dr. Boger and appreciate the support that he provided me and continues to provide this institution. And I want to say personally, Dr. Boger, I'm most pleased that you would come today. To introduce the volunteers, we'd like to once more bring up the Jeopardy.
One last time. I introduced the Miller years by saying that Mr. Miller is the man who hired me, and I introduced the Clovis years by saying that Bob Clovis is the man who promoted me to department head, and he blamed Wayne Miller for hiring me. He didn't have to begin with, so I don't know where you want to put the blame at. I found out the key to get along with both of those gentlemen is to put students first. If you go into their office and talk about anything else, you're going to be back out the door about as fast as you can get. If you're there to talk about students and how you want to make everything better for students, they'll listen to you. Otherwise, they're busy to tell whatever it is you want to talk about. So, students first. And Dr. Cohn, when you were up here talking, it reminded me, I took a graduate course under Dr. Cohn one time several years ago, and I had forgotten the title of every other book that I ever read in graduate school. It either said something about me or graduate school, I don't know which, but the one book that I remember of all the courses I took is the one that Dr. Cohn wrote, and students are number one. So I thought, if you want to talk about where's the emphasis and what's the whole purpose of all this and why we're all here, it's students. That's why we're here. And we tell our people 9,000 times, if you're here for any other reason, I really don't know why you're here. So anyway, the college is here.
Okay, Dr. D, I'll take the common issues for 100.
Okay, the answer is, Klobnish was director during these years. Y'all are thinking about that, right? Anybody? Gary?
What do you mean was? Isn't he still here?
Is the communication around here bad or what? I mean, Dr. Bob is gone. Nobody told us the whole time I've been here. I mean, this is pathetic. Dr. D, did you know he was gone?
He's still here, Mary.
Oh, anyway.
Susan?
What was 1983 to 1991?
That's correct. In 1991, his title was changed to provost.
Wait a minute. Wait, that was a trick question. Are you a faculty person or what?
Only for average salary purposes. You got the right answer. Go ahead.
How about the common issues for 200?
Okay. Klobnish started his career teaching these two subjects. Mary.
What were men and women?
That's a really good answer, Mary. It's not quite correct. Anybody else? Gary?
What are total quality management and statistics?
No, but a good guess. Susan?
What are industrial arts and math?
Industrial arts and math, that's correct. Susan?
Klobanish years for 300.
The answer is, Klobanich's new niche in the Oklahoma higher ed system for OSU Tech consisted of this.
Dr. D, is a niche a woman with a really bad attitude? What?
No. Gary?
Nish was that German guy, wasn't he?
Susan?
What was phasing out those programs considered vocational in nature and upgrading existing programs to college level?
That's a great answer. Great answer. Susan again.
Klobanish years for 400.
Okay. Klobanich's focus on distance learning means. Mary.
What is so far above the students' heads that they can't understand it?
No, Mary. Gary.
What is it is so far above the faculty's heads they can't understand?
No, Gary. Susan, help.
Okay. What is taking the classroom to the learner?
That's a good answer, Susan. Good answer. Okay? Susan.
I'll take the Klobanish years for 500.
Okay, last one. These three physical facilities are the ones he's most proud of building.
What were the porta potties last summer?
Anybody else?
Seemed like there was only 3, didn't it, to you?
Susan?
What are the Noble Center Edition, the Student Union, and the Reynolds Center?
That's a great answer, great answer. We're now ready to move into our final Jeopardy round. Final Jeopardy round. Okay? And category is OSU Okmulgee in the future. The final Jeopardy answer is OSU Okmulgee will still be here turning out quality graduates until
The cows
The South?
And the hens come
come
home.
home. I'm sure some of that applause was that's the end of the Jeopardy. We had a good time with that, and we certainly didn't mean to offend anybody talking about poker. For highlights of the Klobanish years, I'd like to introduce Dr. Larry Williams to come up and make a few remarks.
Thank you, Gary. I'm glad Jeopardy's over. I think to describe the Klobanish years, Klobanish years were the years of Dr. Boker, of Dr. Campbell, of Dr. Halligan. The Klobanish years have been the worst of years, and they've been the best of years. Bob didn't know that shortly after he would move to Oklahoma from Nebraska that the bottom would fall out of the oil market in Oklahoma and that all institutional chief administrative officers would be asked to cut their budgets somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 15%. In '83, when those years began, and shortly after that, Oklahoma State University Okmulgee in the state funding formula was one of the lowest funded institutions for a full-time equivalent student in the state of Oklahoma. This last year, when the State Regents for Higher Education published the funding for state-supported institutions, Oklahoma State University and Okmulgee was the highest funded institution, state-supported, for a full-time equivalent student in the state of Oklahoma. A significant change for our institution, a significant change for the perceptions of the people for the state of Oklahoma, for the State Regents for Higher Education, and it would not have been possible without a great deal of support from the presidents who served during that particular period of time at Oklahoma State University. The Klobanish years at this institution can be highlighted probably in two major categories. One I would refer to as partnerships. Since 1983, this campus has worked very, very hard to establish partnerships and expand partnerships with business and industry. Just to characterize a few of those in the automotive area, this institution, I believe, is the only college of its kind in the United States that currently has corporate sponsorships for programs with Nissan Motor Company, with Toyota Motor Company, with Ford Motor Company, and with Chrysler Motor Corporation. And a few years ago, the board of directors from Japan and Toyota USA, out of 30-plus institutions in the United States, recognized our program as being the top automotive program in the United States out of all of those that are sponsored and affiliated through Toyota. But that's just one example. There are similar examples in all of the departments on campus. Here recently, we have formed a pilot program in partnership in our heavy diesel area with Caterpillar Corporation. They provided us one-of-a-kind simulators that's the only one in the world. We had just recently signed partnerships with Komatsu. And for a small educational institution to bring two worldwide corporations such as Caterpillar and Komatsu together for common cause, perpetuation of education, to turn out technicians, is quite a monumental effort. But it goes beyond that. Public Service of Oklahoma has built new kitchens in this facility. Charles Machine Works is a partnership and has worked closely with our electronics department and our heavy department. But those are intangibles that you don't see or you don't read a lot about. The other major thing that's visible to people on our campus is the tradition that was started of building by Wayne Miller and continued on under the Klobenish era. During the Klobenish era, we have completed the Nolan Center for Advancing Technology. That particular building came from a challenge grant from the Noble Foundation of $1 million. Half of that to go toward the building of a building, the other half to set up scholarship endowments. And those scholarship endowments have continued to grow. We've also seen the completion of new residence halls, Hannigan Hall and England Hall. We've seen the most important building on this campus constructed being our student union. And once again, the community of Okmulgee stepped forward and contributed over $1 million towards the building of that particular structure. We've also seen the completion of Phase 2 of the Noble Center that was just recently opened. Currently, we have 3 major projects underway. We're building handball and racquetball courts on the side of the Cobell Hall structure to expand our student activity programs. We're currently in the middle of an expansion library project and renovation of our existing library facilities. And more significantly, we became one of the first institutions to be a benefactor of the $8.1 million grant from the Reynolds Foundation to build the Reynolds Center for Technology. That was the largest single grant ever presented to any higher education institution in the state of Oklahoma. Once again, a commitment that was started in the Cobell days, was continued in the Miller days, and is being continued in the Klobenish era. Thank you. And Bob, we're not going to let you present yourself here on the board, so if you can come forward. On behalf of all of us at Oklahoma State University Okmulgee, thank you for your dedication and leadership and the direction that you provided our institution. Thank you.
I just want to say thanks for everyone for coming and providing some support that we've had over the past 13 years that I've been here. It's been an exciting time, but the one thing that is constant is change. And we deal with change every day, and it's particularly important for this type of institution as technology-based as we are. So I'm pleased to have the opportunity to follow up on what Mr. Cobell started as the first director and Miller continued as the second director.
is our birthday, October 3rd, 1946. And I want to start off by saying I feel very honored to have been asked to make some comments on this birthday of the school. And I want to thank Dr. Bob College and his staff, faculty, and employees, even the students, for making this event possible, planning these activities. I go back to 1947 when I first enrolled in the second semester of this institution. And let me say, on behalf of the city of Okmulgee, I pledge our support and our continued support in our resources and any way we can help the school. And that's, as we've heard back Dr. Bennett and some of the people, Chief Covell, some of the people that were originally, this school is a dream of these people, and some community leaders in Okmulgee. They got the ball rolling on this institution, or this side, when the Army declared this hospital as surplus, the General Hospital. And I don't want to sound repetitious here, but this institution was started under their leadership, and we had some dedicated educators at this time that came on board under Chief Covell's leadership. And we had such people as Grady Platt, Joe Taylor, Roy Miller, to mention a few, many more contributed to this effort. These people were interested in the returning veterans and their students, and they give them benefit of their knowledge, teaching, and their dedication to make these students that came back from World War II responsible citizens. And I guess that I was asked to do a few remarks, to make a few remarks on behalf. It felt like my situation might be typical of the returning veterans in 1945, 46, 47. I returned from service. I graduated from high school from this area and went into the service and served with the 29th Infantry Division in Europe, 3 major campaigns. And I came home in January 46. And I was typical of the returning veterans then, I think, both men and women. That's the big majority was men then. I was typical in the fact that I had pretty rough combat spent in the European theater. And I didn't know what I wanted to pursue as a career or vocation. So I enrolled in 1947 in February, the second semester, and in an intensive business course, mentioned previously, business administration. And it was a 2-year course, but I developed on the subject, graduated in 1948, I believe, had this completion. The instructor I mentioned like Joe Taylor and some of these people were very instrumental in setting up training programs that can give us the skills and dedication to go out into the labor market and get a productive job. putting this together in general hospital was a vacuum. There was acres and acres of all. You could go outside winter weather or in rainfall, never get wet. It was real damage to these one building. You know, it's just, to go back to the thing that's in the hospital, that's just key. Available was better service. That's when, Ben Obel, they had an opportunity to live their dreams and was help from the legislative delegation and community leaders. They acquired this hospital and converted it into a technical training school, and the supplies, equipment used in the classrooms sometimes was, I hesitate to use, or I guess the best word to use is water. I've heard some high-handed stories on the way some of this equipment was requisitioned for this school, but it was for a good purpose. And out of this background was carved this school, and I graduated in 1948, as I said before. And I've used the skills that I gained here over the years to over my work career. And I went to work for the Temple Company in town for 2 years after I had completed courses at Oklahoma State Tech. And then I went to a glass